Okay.
Okay, welcome to the Sega Does Podcast, episode 16. I am Sam the Pixel Dude, one of your hosts, alongside me, virtually to my left, as always, we have the NES Encyclopedia, soon to be the Alex Kidd Atlas. That is Dylan Cornelius. How are we doing, Dylan?
Very good.
We're not
I like
bad on take two, are we?
no. I like and I still like Alex Kidd Atlas. I heard
Yeah.
it twice now, but I still like it. So
Yeah.
it's
If you're
gonna
wondering what
stay.
we're on about, people, we have recorded half of this show already, and we are we are taking another stab at it because it didn't work. So anyway, today on episode 16, we have a very special episode for you. We have an episode completely dedicated to the game Alex Kidd in Miracle World for the Sega Master System or your Mark III if you're from the Japan land. This game, we're focusing on this game mainly because it is the first major, seminal, celebrated, remembered release from Sega in their console output. Yes, we've had Monaco GP. Yes, we've had Outrun. No, we haven't had Outrun, Tom. Stop saying that. We've had Monaco GP. We've had Hang On. But this is the first foray into the console market that really made an impact for Sega. So today we have Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
Yes, sir.
Right, so Alex Kidd in Miracle World, 86, I do believe, Dylan.
Yeah, 86.
Mhm.
He came out November 86 in Japan. Just plain old 86 in the US because they
Yeah.
didn't date very well back then.
No.
And then man, people just didn't care about games back
Didn't
then.
really care at all.
Not even the companies that made them.
No.
And then Europe got it in September 87.
Mm-hmm.
But this is I don't think at the time, well, I don't have like any data to back me up, but I don't think at the time this game was even like looked twice at, right? Until later.
No, until it got built into the Master System Mark II, which this game did. I don't really think people gave it much notice, as you said. And then obviously the Mark II was pretty big here in Europe. It was huge in Brazil, and I think people really started taking notice. Not only because everyone's got this game because it's built in, but because actually it's a pretty good game.
Yeah, it's it's rare for any game company to give you a freebie,
Yeah.
and for them to give you a freebie of a game that's actually halfway decent.
Well, at the minute, it's rare for a game company to give you a game that works.
Yeah.
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 Cheers, Microsoft.
And the fact that it's built in and you could just turn it on and it would just come on. That's impressive to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, cartridges were expensive.
Right.
Data was expensive. I mean, it's expensive now, but in relative terms, it was just as expensive then. And to put that much data in a system for free was not cheap.
No.
I believe it was a 1 mega power game. It's when Sega started using their mega power stickers all over their box arts. And the box art for this game is typical Sega. It is a beautiful piece of art if you ever bought it in Japan, but typically if you brought it in the US or Europe, you got what can only be described as a children's coloring book clip art.
Not a very good one either.
It doesn't even look like him. His shirt's not even the right color.
No, and he's wearing overalls. I think he kind of looks like
Mario.
I put that he looks like Chucky with an oversized fist on the site. He doesn't have those deranged eyes, but
No.
it's the same basic idea.
So Alex Kidd, what is it? Well, it's a side-scrolling platformer. That's what 8-bit does best. But it's quite a varied side-scrolling platformer with lots of different game types, lots of different ideas in there, And Sega were really trying with this one because Alex Kidd was actually purposefully designed to be a mascot for Sega. It was, as everyone knows, Sonic, he was designed internal competition, blah, blah, blah. Alex Kidd was before that. He was also designed, it wasn't just a game that evolved into this platforming icon and Sega took it on. It was designed to be their flagship. So when people say, "Oh, they just dropped Alex Kidd for Sonic," they literally did just drop Alex Kidd for Sonic because Sonic was better. So let's talk actually a little bit more about the actual game itself.
The main game, I mean, it's a side-scrolling platformer, which would become it's just a hugely popular genre. But even in '86, I don't think it had become what it would, you know.
No,
And there wasn't really a standard formula. Like Mario kind of invented a formula a little bit, and the original Super
yeah,
Mario. And since Alex Kidd was a response to Mario, but rather Sega doing their own thing. They didn't just want to copy and paste, you know,
no,
what Nintendo had done. Um, it kind of feels like Sega spreading their wings a little bit and trying to figure out like, all right, what works and what doesn't, and we're just gonna throw it all in there.
literally throw it all in.
Yeah,
Um, so Alex himself, he can jump around as you might expect. One of his main mechanics that Mario didn't really have, lots of people debate whether he smashes blocks with his head or whether he smashes them with his fist or whatever. But fact of the matter is, when he jumps, he breaks something. Alex, you actually push a button and a huge, I don't know, it's just a deformed fist comes out from his arm, and basically you can smash things with your fist. I have no idea why he can do this, but there's no, I can't find any reason, any superpower. Have you ever come across a reason?
yeah. It's apparently his fist is so big. That's just funny to say. Because he studies in shell core, which is like a martial arts.
Wow.
And yeah, I know the story is really reaching for like some sort of mythology for Miracle World, but it's pretty bad. Like Mario is bland,
Yeah.
but Alex is like, no, we're gonna give him all these different characters and landscapes, and it's like, oh, Sega, just give me a game, man. Like I
Yeah.
don't care about any of this. But anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, so that's why his fist is big because he's a martial artist. And interestingly enough, in this interview with I think his name is Sade, I don't know. Um, they they made Alex punch sideways because they wanted to distinguish him from Mario, who punched upwards.
Right.
So and so that's
Obviously.
why. That's the only reason, you know, and because his fist is so big, that's probably why they're just like, make him a martial arts, make up something, you know. So the thing that I maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but I'm gonna say it anyway. The thing that I think prevents me from loving this game, whereas like Mario, I can play it today and just have a ball, is this game feels it like a bunch of people sat around a table and just kind of like threw out ideas.
Yeah.
Whereas Mario feels very organic and it feels very like somebody had a really good idea and it just kind of expanded upon it
Yeah.
and it just came together seamlessly. Whereas Alex Kidd took a lot of effort, and I could be wrong about that, but that's how it plays anyway. It doesn't
Yeah.
play smoothly.
It doesn't have time to breathe.
No.
It's the flow is what kills it. I felt. Not saying it's a bad game, but you don't do one thing for long enough. Whether it's running, jumping, swimming, smashing, flying, sailing. So you don't do one thing for long enough. So you can't really get the grasps of the physics, the controls, the handling, the everything. There are so many different, not control schemes, but control feelings, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
Uh, Alex Kidd never feels the same twice. Um, Now, when he's actually running around and jumping on land, a la Mario, um, he feels slippery. You
Yes.
can't beat around the bush. He does feel slippery. The same way I felt Mario 2 felt more slippery than all the others. Um, but even more so than that. You can't get around that. But there are games that have been around that have different control schemes, and you would get used to it. The problem with Alex Kidd is you don't have long enough to get used to it. The first level, you're running around, jumping, smashing, collecting money, and money is a big part in this game as well. Which you have to spend in shops. Which spending money in shops, buying power ups, 86. This is pretty early stuff.
Yeah. The shop aspect. I don't know if any game had done that prior to this.
No,
That was a platformer.
yeah,
I think some racing games may have done something where you accumulate money by winning races and then you buy
yeah.
parts or something, but not in this form. Uh,
I can't think of anything we've played.
no, not so
No,
far, and not on the NES either. I know that.
yeah,
So I
obviously.
could, yeah. The
Yeah,
only one that comes to mind is Clash at Demon Head, which was later than
yeah,
86.
yeah. Hmm.
So
So yeah, you run around, and then as soon as you run around, it thrusts you into some water, and you start swimming around. A la, what level is it? Mario 1. I can't remember.
I think it's 1-3.
1 3. Okay, so
There's a bunch, but
there's a
yeah.
bunch, but Alex Kidd can't swim. Is That is the worst control scheme I thought. When Alex Kidd gets in water, bad things happen.
Yeah, there's a part towards the end of the game where you have to swim underwater through like a sea of spikes
Oh yeah.
and you have to just ever so slowly make your way.
I
So,
thought they were part of the background.
oh no.
I thought they were like foreshadowing and giving you a bit of time to breathe before a final boss or something. I thought it
Oh
was like a
no.
nice diamond pattern on the background. So I just like barreled in there, poof, dead. And we'll get onto it a bit later, but dying instantly is another thing that Alex Kidd does a lot as well.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So real quick though to touch on the underwater
Yeah, yeah.
controls. So so basically Alex I guess is just very buoyant by nature
It's his
because
big head. Them
yeah,
ears,
that's
man. They must be
his
buoyant.
big head and his big fist are just keeping him afloat. But anyway, you have to hold down
Yeah.
to 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 make sure he stays down. And if you let go of that, he'll just float up. So obviously Sega uses that control scheme to their dastardly advantage in many areas when you're swimming underwater.
Oh yeah.
Um, oh, the other thing about his fist has such a short range,
Oh
such a
yeah.
short range.
Yep.
So you have to get like right up close to the enemy,
Yep.
and a lot of time, well, not a lot, but more often than I would have liked, sometimes the enemy would be too close and I would die,
Yeah.
even though I was about ready to punch him. And man, that just frustrated me to no end.
Yeah, he doesn't really
So
have much range. He does get ranged weapons a little bit later on, which are quite actually effective and quite smart.
the
Um,
ranged weapons are great.
yeah,
Yeah,
I can't. Are they like laser based? I can't remember.
I called them Well, first of all, it's like a bracelet you get,
That's right. Yeah.
and then you equip it or use it or something, and yeah, it like shoots off a projectile. But I called it like a flying fist because you still punch, and that's
Yeah.
the projectile
Yeah.
comes from that. But yeah, that is super power. It's almost like too powerful. Not really. I
Mm.
mean, because it's a great help, but
It does clear
compared,
out a lot of blocks and stuff though, which is quite useful because in Alex Kidd there's lots of rubble and blocks and stuff to get, and you can break most things, but it that really slows you down is the blocks. And when you get the bracelet, laser, phaser, whatever the hell it is, it clears them out pretty swiftly.
yeah, yeah,
Mm,
it's a lot better as far as that goes.
yeah. Now, once you get through the first water section, you come to the first shop, and you have a choice to buy a. Now, is it a bike or is it a motorcycle?
I think it's a motorcycle.
I thought it was a motorcycle as well. So, the next like stage, I suppose you could say, you have two options of how to play it,
Yeah,
which is really cool.
it is really cool, but we should mention that the motorcycle is crap. So I mean, it's good for as long as it works, and if you know what's ahead, and
Yeah,
you know what it can take,
yeah,
what damage it can take. But see, the motorcycle and basically every vehicle
yeah,
can run over enemies and regular bricks, but the red bricks they can't
yeah,
run over. So you're gonna have to jump through, uh, or jump over those. Um,
yeah.
and like one little touch, and the motorcycle will disappear.
Oh yeah. Well, the screen
So
moves too fast,
yeah,
so fast, and you can't see what's coming ahead. And that's another thing I found. I don't know. You can't really call it a glitch. It's more just an oversight. When you're in water, you hit the water. Say you hit the water on the far right hand of the screen.
yeah,
Yeah, and you start moving right, the camera won't move. Well, it will. You will progress right, but it won't like recenter Alex. You will stay on the far right as you are moving along. So there's no way you can see. You have to like edge yourself back towards the center of the screen and then move right and edge yourself back and move yourself right for the camera to like catch up with you.
hmm.
It's
I never had that issue, but
really,
I
you
I
should
just
try it.
remember
This isn't really getting away, but
right.
it's just how the camera works in the game is a bit too fast and a bit too skitty sometimes.
That is very true. Much like Alex himself
Yeah.
can be that way. The best way to play this game seriously is just take your time. Like don't
Yeah.
because I guess I started playing it like Mario, even though I wasn't going to, and user Sean told me not to, and I was trying to like go slower, but it still wasn't slow enough
Yeah.
because the first level you're descending down a mountainside, and there's birds that fly back and forth in this pattern, and if you touch them, uh you die because
Mm.
it's a one hit thing. And I was skidding all over the place and like hitting the birds, and I wasn't even trying. I'm like, man, what is this? I can't.
Uh,
I was not liking this game at first,
no.
but yeah, just slow and steady, and not. I would actually treat this more as an action adventure game than
Yes.
just a straightforward
Yeah, I would agree.
action.
I would
Yeah.
agree with that. You just can't see far enough ahead of you to prepare
No.
at full speed. It's weird. I know it's not, but it's like the resolution needs to be bigger. Like on Mario, the resolution's bigger. It's not obviously just everything's more detailed and more compact, but it's just not designed that way. But unfortunately, if you do go slower, it's harder to control because of the nature of how Alex controls. It's very, I don't know, it's just very slow and methodical if you really want to be accurate with it. Obviously, if you learn it, which you're supposed to do, obviously, you just learn it over and over again, you can get faster. But yeah, if you take your time, it's the best way to get through with the least pain.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't just barrel your way through it, no way.
Just to kind of put a capper on that point. when I first started playing, I probably spent a good 15, 20 minutes just on the first level
Yeah.
until I'm like, okay, I'm going as slow as I possibly can. I'm just going to, I'm not gonna rush.
Yeah.
And I think I made it through almost half the game without dying that way.
Wow.
Yeah, I can't even explain it. I just tapped into some sort of Alex Kidd Zen. But don't get me wrong, the last half of the game, I died so much. So
It's a pretty tough game.
it is.
Now one thing that's tough in most games is the bosses.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah.
bosses, but
Um,
not so much here.
well, they're tough, but in the wrong way.
Yeah.
God, I want to hear your take on this. Explain bosses in Alex Kidd for us. Come on.
Well, uh, the boss is he kind of looks like this German ruler from like World War One,
Yeah,
and
spike intact.
yep, and he's got he's got his sub bosses who are rock, paper, and scissor heads. Like those, that's their names. So
Mm,
obviously, you can see where this is going. You fight them with rock, paper, scissors matches, and this is like no joke. Like I can't like looking like even now I'm like that's ridiculous.
yeah,
Like that is ridiculous. Like why would they put that in a game? And
it's just another idea.
it's just another right. Exactly. It's like, well, maybe people will like this. Who knows? We might start a trend, and they definitely did
Or
not.
maybe it's because like they knew Alex against the boss with his crap range would just be terrible.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's very true. Um, the one thing I will say, uh, I do think it's bogus that you die if you don't win.
yeah. If you
Like,
don't win, you just die.
I think you should be maybe sent back to the beginning of the level, but
Yeah,
not lose a life. Like that's a bit because they never change their pattern. So if you learn their pattern, you can go back and or learn what move they're going to do, then you can counter accordingly.
yeah.
But lives are so limited in this game
Oh,
um that it's really just
I don't think I know. What does a one up look like?
like a little chibi Alex Kidd.
Oh yeah, so it does. I remember. I got one once, I think, on this playthrough, and that was about it.
There's a shop sell them and then they're
Did,
hidden
did, did I?
occasionally. Well, they're expensive.
Well,
Yeah.
there you go. Then I probably never even looked. Um. So yeah, bosses are just per chance, and a few other vehicles in the game. What do we have? We had like a helicopter that was propelled by pedaling.
Yep, and that's the one they use the most.
Yeah,
There's actually
there's a boat.
most of the what's that? There is a boat. It's like a
Yeah,
little speedboat level, but it's not very big. I don't really know why they put it in there. Um, but the helicopter I think is probably the best vehicle too, which is why they chose to
use it.
throw it in so often. But still it's hard too. Like it's hard to control and one little touch against the wrong thing and
Yeah,
just done.
you're done. Now what about the graphics? What do we think about graphics? So we've got Nintendo's main competitor. Um, the Master System, I'm sorry, just looks better than the NES,
Absolutely.
and the color palette of the Master System really gets shown off in this game pretty well. I wouldn't say sprites are super detailed,
No.
but they have all character. They all fit. They all look like they're from the same world. Um, Alex Kidd himself's got quite a cool. When you go left to right, he actually faces forward for a brief frame, as if he's turning. Doesn't get in the way of the gameplay. It's just a nice little touch. A lot of sprites back then literally just swap round. But he actually turns, which is quite cool. Enemies can be a bit annoying how they're sized, I felt.
They're annoying how they're sized, and they're not very memorable. They're just
No.
kind of they're
In the
just
way, they're in the way. Is what they
yeah,
are.
they're in the way. I mean, it's like fishes, birds. I think there's some
Some
scorpions. I mean,
scorpions which look like prawns,
yeah,
which is odd.
yeah. There's just nothing really memorable in that regard.
No.
And you're right. They some of them do get in the way because you feel like they're either too big or too small. I don't know how quite to explain it, but
You don't feel I never felt confident. Like I walk up to a bunch of enemies and I'm like, yeah, I can take these guys out just because of how his attack worked. You know how it feels. You just with his range and
that's very
you
true.
never felt confident
That's yeah.
taking them on.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, no, that's a good point because I every time like I would throw out my fist. I'm like, well, I hope this works.
Yeah, and it
Yeah,
wasn't because it was glitchy. You couldn't tell if you was close enough or not.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and you knew if you missed, like literally the next frame, they'd be close enough and they'd just take you out. So
Yep.
you had to be pretty accurate. I did quite like the sound though. I must admit.
Yeah, it's some chipper little tunes. I
Yeah,
mean, nothing as memorable as the Mario 1 theme, but
no,
it's, it's a nice accompaniment. One thing about the graphics, I will say that I noticed while I was playing and also looking back at my screenshots on the review here, what's with all the blue? I There's blue in just about uh, everywhere and it borders the levels. The
yeah,
last time I remember Sega doing that was on the SG-1000, where they
yeah.
border a lot of their games with black. But
Mm.
uh, that just I don't know why it bothered me so much, but it did. I guess because if the levels there was a lot of blue in a lot of the levels anyway, so I think that's why they did that.
It just looked
But
good. They had a good blue.
I guess that I don't know. It's not really anything to detract from
It's
the
funny
game
actually because that's
itself.
one of the colors the NES actually did quite well was blue.
Yeah,
It didn't
didn't
do
do red very
red or
well.
yellow. Didn't really do too great.
Nope.
No, or green. Green was it's fine.
Or any of the primary colors.
It's quite funny because everybody says I think it was like around 2009, 2010. Everyone was like, "Oh my God, why is every game just like green and brown and grey?" I was like, "Dude, do you play NES?" Everything was like dark and you couldn't really see anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was muddy. It
it
was
was
really
muddy.
muddy.
It was
The
muddy.
best the best games though made great use of
Oh
it,
yeah.
but
Oh, there's one. I can't think of it now. That's terrible, Sam. Oh, I love
so
it. Can't remember what it's called.
when did
Anyway,
you first play? When did you first play this?
when did I first play Alex Kidd? Probably about 93.
Now did you play it when you first got your Master System?
No, I had played it before. I played it around people's houses. It's fact, I knew quite a few people that had Master Systems, and my brother's friend would bring one over every now and then. I'd seen it around before. I say play. If I was graciously allowed to hold a controller for 5 seconds, then yes, I would have played. Um, I knew it was about. I knew it's really weird. The reason we're doing this one podcast on this game is because it is like the Master System game. It's like I said in the last episode, people made fun of you. Oh, what do you play? You play Ghost House and Alex Kidd. It's like, yeah, it is the Master System game almost. Um,
That and Snail Maze.
and Snail
Ha ha ha.
Uh, uh, but it's you just knew it was there. It was just there. I mean, I know it's kind of like how I suppose what would have been the most popular like black box game like Mario, Duck Hunt, something like that.
Even Zelda,
Even
Zelda
yeah,
was talked about a lot.
it was just if you wanted to play it, say you was just stood in the middle of a street in America, you could probably like if I want to play Mario, Duck Hunt, or Zelda right now, I could do in probably 10 minutes. And
Right.
it's just sort of the same thing with like Alex Kidd here. If you wanted to find a mass system, you knew somebody with a mass system and Alex Kidd, you could go play. It was just around. It wasn't famous and it wasn't thought of fondly. I'm not saying I'm not bigging it up saying, oh yeah, it's like when Sonic was here, it was like, oh I'm gonna go around Jimmy's house and play Sonic. You didn't go like, yeah man, let's have pizza and let's go play Alex Kidd. It wasn't like that. It was just like, yeah, I've got Alex Kidd. You know, it's just, yeah, if you want to play it, you can play it. It wasn't thought of fondly. It was just there. It was very strange.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just like any system back in the day, when you're a kid, you take what games you can get.
Yeah.
And Duck Hunt wasn't packaged with Mario Brothers because Duck Hunt was equally as good as Mario Brothers.
No.
It's just it was an additional game that Nintendo didn't mind
No.
packaging alongside of Mario. And so you have all these people who grew up and like, yeah, Duck Hunt's great. And I'm like, well,
No.
it's just kind of a zapper game. Like it's
Yeah.
not good. It's just there.
Yeah.
And yeah, obviously Alex Kidd's a bit more ambitious than Duck Hunt, but I think what really gets me is that this was supposed to be like Sega wanted this to be the thing that would put them on the map, you
Oh yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And looking back, I can see why they would think it very well could because
It
there were
could
no
though. That's the thing. It could.
it could
If it
have,
a few decisions gone a different way, it could have.
right. Because nothing had really been set in stone, as far as like
No.
Nintendo rules America
Oh no.
at this point,
No.
and not only that, but also just platforming in general.
Yeah.
But so I'm curious. Excuse me. What do you think? Like obviously, we could blame it on marketing, we could blame it on any number of things, but why do you think Alex Kidd didn't do what Sega wanted it to do?
I personally I think it's because you can't gaming's all about those moments. All about going to school, going home, telling your mom, telling whoever, oh, did you just see what I just did? Oh, did you do that last night? Oh man, that was so amazing. Did you find this? Alex Kidd didn't have any of that. There was no flow. You couldn't run along, jump over a pit, barely miss a turtle, then just you couldn't. There was no finesse. Do you couldn't play it with a style.
Hmm,
And as we said before, there was too much in Alex Kidd. You did what it wanted.
that's true. Yeah.
And I think with Mario, there was so much freedom. You look through any great games, mainly they are there for you to enjoy, you to experiment. That's what makes good games. There was too many stops and starts, even during the level, as we were saying, you're running along, then oh, there's some blocks, smash the blocks, then you're running, oh, there's some enemies, oh, it's killed me, start again. It's then you stop, then there's a shop, then you get in a car, but no, then your car blows up because you don't know where you're going, and it's just stop, start, stop, start. And then you get to the end of the level, you can't even enjoy a boss fight because it's like, oh mate, you got to guess what I'm gonna do.
That's
It's
very true.
I think and another thing that I was going to get to, I'll say it now though. This could have been expanded on and learnt from, and they didn't.
Do you think they just chalked it up as like, well, let's try something different?
I think that's what they did because that's what Sega does. Ta-da!
Oh
Where did
man,
that
where's
come from?
where's our backup drummer when we need him? Boom. That was
Ah,
actually really good though. Well done. Well
but
played.
but that is what Sega does. If it don't work, then okay, throw it on the pile and try something else. And now maybe they did learn from it, and that's what we got Sonic for. But I don't think that's what Sonic. I don't think Sonic was an evolution of Alex Kidd. I
Absolutely not.
I think Sonic was, oh, that didn't work. Try again. But this could have,
Sonic was the antithesis of Alex Kidd.
yeah,
Like it's, I mean, if Alex Kidd is about taking your time, and I'm talking Miracle World here because I haven't played any other Alex
no,
Kidd games, but if if this game's about taking your time, Sonic is about not doing that at all, getting to
mm.
the,
Though
you
he
know,
has problems getting on with it sometimes. He's
oh yeah. Well, even
yes,
in the early games he
yeah.
did, but those brief bursts of speed are
Oh yeah.
that's I guess that's what it's about. I don't know. I It's going to be interesting when we get there. Not to jump ahead, but it'll be interesting when we get to Sonic, so I can play it through an. I mean, I've played it as an adult, but
Yeah, but to sit down and analyze it is a bit
right,
different. Yeah, I know what you mean.
yeah,
I've been playing
yeah.
a lot of Sonic 3 lately. Oh my
Sonic,
God, that game.
Sonic 3. Don't you mean Sonic 3 Part 1?
Well, I'm trying to decide whether I prefer it on its own or not. I think I might prefer it on its own.
I think it works better on its own,
It's too
but
long with Knuckle. I know you can save, but it's too long.
it's too long in Sonic 2. See, I think it's too long with Sonic and Knuckles, but I don't think it's long enough on its own. And I think that's the problem is coming off
Yeah,
Sonic 2.
yeah.
Sonic 2 was to me a bit too long, but still fun enough that it carried through. And the last few zones weren't that long at all.
No, no.
So,
Set pieces, really, a lot of
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, this is the Alex Kidd podcast
them.
talking about Sega 3 or Sonic 3.
Yeah, it's quite important to talk about Sonic when you talk about Alex Kidd, though. You can't really, in a historical context, talk about one or not. You can't talk about Alex Kidd without talking about Sonic because he got shafted for him. So
Absolutely. And
it's
Sega has distanced themselves so hard
oh
from this character. It's amazing.
yeah,
Like at least what's his face? Is it Yu Suzuki?
yeah,
At least he'll talk about Shenmue. Like Sega won't even address Alex Kidd now,
no.
like at all. And
We'll talk about
it's
Sega dropping things. Sega, we shouldn't really talk about this now, but when they went from Mega Drive to Saturn, they dropped so many IP.
oh, you're right.
Like
Yeah, you're right.
Streets of Rage, Toe Jam and Earl. Oh, the list goes on. There are so many. Like they just didn't do what Nintendo didn't. They just they that's all they needed to do, and they dropped so many IP. And the problem is they didn't even replace them with anything.
I used to think that is very true. And it was only in the Dreamcast when they started coming up
Oh,
with brilliant
dream!
new ideas.
Don't I'll cry.
Uh, I would argue that until recently, I used to think that the worst console generation was that early PlayStation 64 Saturn era,
Oh
at
no,
least in America. In
Ye-
America,
yeah.
um, because it was almost like starting over, right? Because
Oh
everyone
yeah.
was trying to figure out how to use 3D, and Sony obviously did the best job at it,
Mhm.
and also produced a bunch of other amazing weird games. But boy, Sega just hurt that generation,
Which
and
is
then
so bizarre because they was on the 3D train before anybody,
yeah,
which makes it
yeah.
even worse.
Well, and Nintendo just totally dropped the ball with the 64. It's just I don't know what they were thinking there, but
No, they rolled the dice too many times. They wanted to keep the licenses and the production costs for themselves. They thought they could do it again, and unfortunately they didn't.
no current console maker has ever won a generation 3 times in a row.
Nope. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so strange. Nobody else will try now. Surely Apple. Dun, dun.
Ah, I hope not.
No, they're too busy being Apple.
billionaires.
Yeah, damn it. But
Well, I think we've said all we can say
yes,
about
I think
Alex
so.
Kidd.
Now, finally, the grade.
Yeah, I gave it a B plus.
And I agree. It
Yeah.
is full of potential, which never ever really got realised. I'm really intrigued to play the next few games. Though. Is there any on the Master System, or do we go straight to Genesis?
Oh, most of them are on the Master System, I think.
That's right. We've got
Now,
Shinobi World's one of them, isn't it? That's just so stupid.
and in High Tech Land, and
High
there's
tech.
yeah, I'm curious to see what's so high tech about that one.
Hmm.
Um,
2 mega power.
2 mega power. It's pre-blast processing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Alex.
poor Alex. He never got a break. He was designed in a board meeting. I mean,
Hmm.
you know, the poor guy. Like, I feel for him because he is cute, but he's like any other mascot that I remember playing one game from when I was a kid and then forgot about. He doesn't
I'd say,
like Bubsy or something.
here's
It's
a
just
question then.
okay.
Would we have had Sonic without Alex Kidd?
Um,
I don't think we
well,
would.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to say because I definitely think Alex Kidd's failure forced Sega to try harder, and
Yeah.
without without that, without that failure, who knows if they would have pushed themselves as hard as they did for Sonic and once again, you know, did they push themselves or was it just like Sega going, "Hey, let's try this mascot thing again. You there, design something that looks cool." You know what I mean? I mean, it's like it could just be Sega going back to the drawing board as they often did. Um, but I really feel like I got to give it to them. It's like two failures. I mean, they did well enough in Europe and then later Brazil with the Master System, but in their home territory, two console failures, and they're like, nope, we're just gonna keep on going. We're
It's
gonna
crazy, really, isn't it?
do better.
It is
And
crazy.
it's like nobody would do that now. Nobody.
There's not enough money in it now. I mean, back then, yeah, they were considered a failure compared to the Nintendo, but they were still making money.
Exactly.
Nowadays, you couldn't do that.
Mm-mm.
I mean, you could make a game like Alex Kidd with 4 guys in a room for, I don't know, 24 weeks. You could make it, and you just can't do that. And you'd sell 1 million copies, and you'd make as much as a game makes now, selling 1 million copies. But obviously now you need 5,000 people working for 6 years to make a game that comes out and needs a 20 gig patch and still doesn't work. Microsoft, thank you. But anyway, no. Alex Kidd, underrated.
Underrated, but understandably, I think a lot of
Understandably, sucks.
well, I was gonna say I think a lot of people who come into it expecting Sega's version of Mario are disappointed.
Yeah.
But I would argue that if you come into the game just wanting to play a different kind of platforming game, you'll find something to like about it.
Yeah.
And I would also recommend playing with an FAQ if you don't want to if you want to spare yourself some grief at least in the later levels.
Yeah.
I would recommend that.
I'd also recommend, which I found out today, and I looked up, and I was correct. I wasn't going crazy. Um, let's just say I tried my Japanese copy of Alex Kidd, and I was going, oh god, it's one of them games that has the jump button and the punch button the wrong way around. And then I tried my European built in the box copy of Alex Kidd, and they changed the buttons round.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I thought I was going crazy. But I checked it out, and they actually, when they stuck it in the Master System Mark II, they changed the buttons to be the right way around. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah, that's Sega
Important,
learned.
but weird.
Yeah, Sega learned a bit, I guess.
Yeah,
But
good, I'll say. Okay.
yep.
So that's Alex Kidd in Miracle World. Next time we'll be back to our normal podcast talking about a few games. But for this special episode, I'd like to thank Dylan. So thank you, Dylan.
Thank you, Sam.
It's okay.
I appreciate all your hard work. I do.
Look at me working so hard. And if people want to find you, they can find you at the Dylan the on Twitter, and of course SegaDoes.com. If you want to find a podcast, you can find it at SegaDoes.com or SegaDoes.libsyn.com. Give us a nice review, follow us, tell your friends, play Alex Kidd, tell them how good it is, and just share around the joy of Sega.
Yep.
Yep.
Sounds great. Sega.
Sega.